finds a key.
Hello again. Today I have another pin tumbler lock for you. The Assa Guideline. I got this one from Moon, thanks my friend. And that's an interesting design for a high security lock. First of all, it has 6 pins with Assa barrel drivers and matching countermilling. And this is a well-known feature and quite annoying to pick, especially with great tolerances. And on top of this, as you can see here in the key, there's a second locking mechanism that's interacting with those marks here. And there are 3 unsprung slider-like things in this lock. And instead of a sidebar, they have their own ball bearings. So each locking element has its own blocking element. And that makes picking a bit different, as you need up to lighten the tension quite a lot. And also it's very difficult to place the pick properly, as the tip of the slider is sometimes orientated left or right. That's part of their mastering system, as you can see in my latest video about the JPM Surf, or an older one with the Zeiss Ikon WSW, if you're interested how this mechanism is working in detail. Picking is quite straightforward. When you tension the lock counterclockwise, the second locking mechanism will bind first, and I recommend this as you need up to lighten the tension quite a lot, as said. And if you have picked the main stack before, you risk to drop pins. So pick the second locking elements first, then you will get a little falset. And from this point you pick the pins regularly. You need to play with tension. The tolerances are really good, and the countermilling is scraping very hard. So it's quite easy to overset a pin and difficult to detect the difference between a binding pin and a set pin, for example. So all of this makes this lock a worth opponent, and even if there are locks out there that are way more complicated or difficult, this one gave a quite good challenge. So I hope you like my attempt of picking it. Have fun! So first let's start this key. And of course it's working. Then I will apply counterclockwise tension with the SB14 tension wrench, like this. And for the second locking mechanism, I will use this thinned half diameter here. Very light tension at the beginning, and let's go. Okay, first element feels okay. Second, nice click. And nice click out of the third. So all elements feel jiggly. Now let's continue with the main stack. Therefore we'll use this hook and medium tension. Click it off 3. Click it off 1. Some nice crunchy clicks out of 4. Oh, nice click out of 1. 3. Nice click out of 4. 5. 1 again. 4. 6. Nice click out of 1. Out of 3. Out of 5. Okay, click out of 4, and we got a bit of core movement. That's a good sign. Okay, 2 is binding, quite strong. Click. And second click, and we are open. Great. Okay, let's gut this. First of all, we have to remove this lovely clip. Like this. Then I will give a bit of rotation so that this part of the core lines up with the driver stack, so we won't need to shim as well in this case. Then gently pushing out the core, holding those ball bearings inside, of course, and let's drop those pins first. Okay, now those side elements. Okay, now a close look at the core. Okay, first of all, the 6 chambers for the key pins, all with countermilling, as you can see. And this countermilling is grabbing really annoying with those Assa barrels. Then you can see the 3 holes for the ball bearings instead of a sidebar. So each locking element of the second locking mechanism has its own blocking part. And then we can see 5 chambers for the side elements, but only 3 are populated, as well those 2 chambers are not populated because there's no connection to anything. I think it's just easier to build those holes first and then choose if it's going to be an Assa Guideline or another model with sidebar, for example. Quite open keyway. And some drill protection elements. Okay, let's continue gutting. Okay, now a closer look at the housing. Okay, you can see the main groove for the sidebar, or in this case the ball bearings. And this, what looks like a groove, is just from tensioning and too many times trying to pick this thing. And the driver chambers, of course. Nothing very special here. Now let me rearrange everything for a nice close-up. Okay, first of all key pins are made out of steel and standard ones, nothing special here. The drivers, let's take driver number 1 and 2, are the Assa barrel style, as you can see. Double barrels, as you can turn them upside down without affecting the security element. And as you can see, they are like spools, but with very sharp lips here. And this is the part that's grabbing into the serration of the core. So you can imagine how this edges might grab under tension, and this is one main difficulty of this lock. And as the tolerances are very good, it's really difficult to detect the binding element and to get the driver out of those out of the countermilling. Besides that, there are 3, let's call them locking elements. I don't know if they are more sliders or fingerpin. No fingerpin, but let's call them slider like things. And if you take a close look, first of all, there's this tip reaching into the keyway that's interacting with the key, of course. And similar like the WSW Zeiss Ikon, and some others, there is a second way how this element could look like, not with a different bitting, but with a tip on the, in this case, left side, and here is it on the right side. And that's just a way to master this lock. So there are two grooves for this position in the key, and just one part of the groove is interacting when the tip is on the right side or on the left side. So it's quite easy to master this lock. But anyway, how is this blocking the core movement? If you take a look at the backside, where we would expect a true gate for a sidebar mechanism, you can see this spherical cutout here and a tiny knob under this. And that's the true gate for this ball bearing. And if the element is in the correct position, it's a bit hard to show, then this ball bearing can move into this tiny hole and the core can rotate. Otherwise it's reaching out and blocking the movement because it's in this sidebar groove of the housing. And down below this screw gate there's a tiny second dimple, quite hard to see, and it's I think it should act like a false gate, but it's not the main difficulty. It's quite easy, but the binding is really difficult. It's you need really light tension and a good fit of the tip to get this element in the correct position. And the combination of great tolerances, this interesting second locking mechanism design, and of course the classical Assa barrels combined with countermilling makes this lock surprisingly difficult. It's not something very new, but I don't know why in this lock it gave me a lot of trouble, fun to learn, but hard to master. But you should give it a try in any case. Okay, the Assa guideline. Thanks for watching, see you soon and goodbye.